This is Hannibal here from the Hannibal TV on YouTube with a daily wrestling news update for you. There's more news regarding the John Moxley incident from 2 years ago, where he pushed the non AEW employee worker in the face. It was unscripted, it was over the line, but Meltzer has pointed out a few things regarding that situation. Apparently, that guy was seen by the AEW doctor that night, but he's alleging permanent disfigurement, serious spinal and shoulder injuries, and so forth. Apparently, to Meltzer's knowledge, after that night where he was allegedly assaulted, he went back to work for AEW as a freelancer other times since then, and this has never been mentioned until the lawsuit. That's one weird thing about the whole situation with this guy. He waited 2 years to file the suit and did other work for AEW before making this claim. Apparently, he was actually trying to get on the full-time crew. So this may have to do with some bitterness. There's no question Moxley. I've watched it a couple of times. He looks scared and surprised that Moxley shoved him in the face. As I said yesterday, I do think Moxley was just captured in his character doing that. I don't think he intentionally was like, "Oh, let's hurt this guy or let's mess him up." I think he was just in his character. I think they should have used a no-name wrestler that was an extra there to do that position, because any wrestler that could have done the position of handing him a screwdriver, if that guy had got pushed, the wrestler would have been like, "Oh my God, I made TV." And the one thing that actually confirms that this whole situation was probably a surprise to AEW is they show the whole incident on their YouTube channel, which people have copied now and posted everywhere. If they suspected there would be a lawsuit out of that incident, I'm sure they never would have posted that match on YouTube. Undertaker's heart apparently was only working at 30% when he had surgery last April. Hulk Hogan and Eric Bischoff, this is interesting. They were not at the X World Qualifiers this weekend. It was the U.S. World Team Qualifiers. They had wrestlers that are supposedly under contract there. They did not tweet about it. They did not take pictures at the qualifiers. They did not tweet, "Hey, our guys just won. They're going on to the World Championship." So there's a sign that how serious is this company, this freestyle wrestling company, if they're not even there supporting or scouting at the World Team Qualifiers, a major tournament. One guy they do have signed was Ben Askren, who apparently is still fighting for his life with a horrible staph infection and now needs a lung transplant. He is responsive, which at one point he was not responsive. Also in Hulk Hogan news, he had a trading card auctioned off over the weekend, an AWA traded card, $130,700. My God, how many starving kids, how many orphan kids could that help, rather than buy a stupid traded card? But I'll never get collectors. I sold everything. I believe it or not, people actually pay decent money for my wrestling gear and stuff. I sold it all. I'm not really a collector at all. I sold every single mask I ever wore for good money. So I don't get people that pay and collect this stuff, but good for the person that sold that trading card for 130,700. Liv Morgan blew out her shoulder only 6 seconds into a match on Raw. She has a history of shoulder issues. Jamie Hayter out with an injury stemming from a Mercedes Moné match. We're seeing lots of AEW wrestlers on indies now, including Mercedes Moné, and now MJF is doing some indies. WWE is trying to get the Ring Boys lawsuit thrown out based on technicalities. Apparently, according to Dave Meltzer, it was Pat Patterson that convinced Vince McMahon to hire back Mel Phillips after he was initially fired due to doing all this weird stuff with Ring Boys, allegedly. Um, of course, later, Pat, Mel Phillips, and Terry Garvin, who were all buddies, were all forced to resign, with Pat Patterson being brought back after the smoke had cleared. There's a long history of very real incidents with Pat Patterson, of people, I believe, because he was Vince McMahon's buddy and had a lot of power, he got away with more than the Terry Garvins and Mel Phillips, who still got away with a lot. And by the way, Coco Beware is also part of the Ring Boy stuff for allegedly groping a 13-year-old boy, which apparently I could see this happening. He was apparently, according to people that were there, he took a boy and pretended to frisk him, including grabbing his crotch. I could see how he may have thought that was a joke and may not have been doing it for sexual satisfaction. However, I mean, I was around in the 80s somewhat as a kid. Stuff like that would have been overlooked more in the 80s, but definitely you couldn't get away with that in 2023. But I could see how that would have been considered more of a joke back then, and I don't, from my own dealings with Coco, I've had good and bad dealings with him. He's got a real ego, but he's reliable. That's my dealings with Coco Beware. I remember when I asked him to do a job and he said, "I'm a legend. I'm in the Hall of Fame. I can't do a job. Give me a break." Goldberg segment was a waste. All I can say is I sincerely hope he does not job to Gunther. I already am not the biggest WWE fan. That will anger me for the rest of my life as a Goldberg fan and as a guy that doesn't think Gunther could beat Goldberg on his best day, even with Gunther being maybe 40 and Goldberg being 61 or something. I have zero doubt Goldberg would destroy Gunther in a shoot. I don't want to see a long Goldberg match. I want to see a short, fast victory by Goldberg. I want to see him take that title and retire that stupid, worthless second world title that nobody gives a damn about.